Welcome back to another video. In this one, we're going to go over Monday Night Football for October 13th. And there are two games tonight, Buffalo versus Atlanta, Chicago versus Washington. And as you can see, the opening odds are on the screen. We're going to start with the money line for Buffalo versus Atlanta. And the opening odds are here, as well as the spreads. I have it all in my notes. We're going to go over the current odds as well as the splits, as well, as you can see on your screens. On your screen, that is. All right, let's get started with Buffalo versus Atlanta. All right, Buffalo opened at minus 225. The numbers to the right have just been reduced. Separate the integers and add them together, and that's how we get those values. And we apply those to the decode if we discover any parallels, any numerological parallels. Plus 185 opening for Atlanta, as you can see right there. All right, currently it is minus 205 plus 172. Minus 205 for the Bills, plus 172 for Atlanta. Let's go to the spread. Now we should analyze this. We should analyze this individually, shouldn't we? We should analyze this individually. But we're going to go over those final splits together. But first, we're going to go over spread. Minus 3.5 points, minus 115 here. Currently, plus 3.5 at minus 105 currently for Atlanta. 3.5 point favorites are the Buffalo Bills. They opened at minus 5.5. 5.5 point favorites at minus 110 cost even. And that gives Atlanta, obviously, a 5.5 point underdog. Over under total. Currently, it is 49.5 at minus 118 cost. 49.5 at minus 104 cost, going with the under. Opened at 48.5 at minus 110 cost even for the over and the under. All right, money line movements. Let's go over. We're going to go over from Wednesday. We couldn't go over Tuesday because they were excluding a lot of the splits, so we just ignored Tuesday for the Monday games. That is, we ignored Tuesday and just went straight to the Wednesday and now Sunday. All right, Wednesday, Buffalo is at minus 225, plus 185 for Atlanta. Not much different from the opening. 94% betting going in Buffalo's favor on Wednesday. 98% in favor of Buffalo on Wednesday on the money. Now, money line movements from Sunday. It went from minus 225 to minus 215. Betting went up 1%. Money stayed the same, 98%. And we'll go over where they are now in a moment. Plus 185 at 5% betting for Atlanta. 2% of the money on the money line movements from Sunday. Now currently it is minus, let me scroll up, scroll back down. Minus 205 plus 172. Minus 205 plus 172 for the Buffalo Bills. Currently, they are at 94% of the betting, 1% less than Wednesday, 1% less than Sunday, that is, and 96% of the money, 2% less on the money. And they have gone down significantly on the odds in this game. 56% of the money going in favor of them on the spread currently, and 76% going in favor of the Bills on the betting on the spread. The 56% was on the money on the spread. Let's go over the spread where they are now. Of course, Buffalo's 3.5 point favorites at minus 115 cost. Minus 105 cost for Atlanta at 3.5 point underdogs. On Wednesday, it was Buffalo's 4.5 point favorites, minus 115 cost. 4.5 point underdogs were the Falcons at minus 105 cost. That gave Buffalo a 69% betting percentage and a 77% money percentage on Wednesday. On Sunday, same thing. 4.5 point favorites are the Buffalo Bills. This time, the cost has flipped. Minus 105 for the Bills and minus 115 for Atlanta. 78% of the betting instead of 69%, goes from 69 to 78. And 69% of the money from 77% of the money. So basically the betting and the money flipped from Wednesday to Sunday, and the cost has changed on the spread. Minus 105 was at Buffalo yesterday. Currently, it is minus 115 Buffalo today, with their money going down in percentage. Whenever you see a flip like that, and you see these flips, look out for the minus 105. Whichever one the minus 105 ends up on, or closer there to it, more than likely that will hit, especially on the spreads across pretty much most sports. It doesn't matter if it's MLB, NBA. When those costs flip from a previous day, especially if the splits flipped, look out for that minus 105 cost. It more than likely will hit. Now, currently, we'll go over the totals. 49.5 points, minus 118 for the over. Under is getting the minus 104. And let's see where the splits are for that. Then we're going to go over where they were on Wednesday and Sunday. Currently, we scroll down a little bit more. Currently, 35%, 33% of the betting and 35% of the money going with the over. So the under is dominating currently. Let's see where they were earlier in the week. Wednesday, October 8th, minus 115 cost going with the over 49.5. 29% betting, 36% money going over. So the under is still winning, even on Sunday, as you can see here, minus 118 going over, 35% to 43%. 35% betting to 43% money on the over. So the under is still dominating, not as much as more than it was earlier in the week, because it is now 67% going under on the betting currently, and 65% on the money going with the under currently. Now, when they increase those odds, they're trying to entice you to go under. And so far, the public is going for it. But under can still, that doesn't mean the under is not going to win. The odds for the under have decreased to minus 104. You have to figure out which one of the picks are getting parlays. You have to figure out which one of the picks are getting parlays. More so because the under is getting a higher percentage, more than likely the under is getting parlayed more often, which is why they're decreasing in the cost, which is more than likely why this game could go under, an indication why this game could go under. But as far as the victorious, who's going to be victorious in this one, this plus 172 is very dangerous if you choose to go that direction, because this is an off. Normally, when you have a non-traditional number in the money line area, like plus 172, plus 174, something like that, more than likely those are just to throw off the bettors on who are betting on the current favorite, which is Buffalo, even though they have decreased in cost. The fact that Buffalo is decreasing in cost, but they're not decreasing in value. They're not decreasing in value, and we're going to go over expected value here in a moment. They're not decreasing in value, though, and we're going to go over that value right now. Expected value is the measure of what a bettor can expect to win or lose on each bet placed on the same odds time and time again. 66% betting percentage based off of the opening. Opening minus 225 for Buffalo. As you can see here, plus 185 for Atlanta. That is based off that. Buffalo 66% win percentage, 34% win percentage for Atlanta. That gives Buffalo a negative $4.67 expected value. That gives Atlanta a negative $3.10 expected value. Currently, based off the minus 205 plus 172, that gives Buffalo a 65% win percentage and Atlanta a 35% win percentage. All right, Buffalo expected value, negative $3.29 expected value currently, based off the minus 205. Atlanta a negative $4.80 expected value. Now you see how sensitive and fragile that expected value is. Atlanta has more value currently, despite a lower win percentage and despite a higher plus positive value. But you have to factor in where the money is going. The splits are always king. Always factor in the splits and where the money is going. Atlanta is very high. Atlanta's very low right now on the splits, on only getting 4% of the money on the money line. What makes them dangerous is what you see them do with that positive. If that positive continues to increase while the negative increases as well in their respective directions, look to go with that higher negative. If you just see the positive increase while the negative stays the same or decreases, go with that underdog in that instance. But let's go to Chicago versus Washington. Chicago opens at plus 170, minus 205. Plus 170 minus 205, as you can see right here. Minus 205 plus 170. Currently, it is plus 220 minus 270. And we're going to go over the splits for that. The splits currently, plus 220 minus 270, gives Chicago 13% of the betting percentage on the money line, 87% on Washington on the money line. 19% of the money going with Chicago, 81% going with Washington. All right, percentage of bets on the spread, 51% for Chicago, 40. Well, okay, we'll go over the spread in a moment. We'll go over the spread in a moment. But we'll just focus on the 87% for Washington on the betting and 81% of the money on Washington on the betting. Let's go over where they were on Wednesday. Plus 188 to minus 225, Chicago to Washington on the money line movements. 12% of the betting in favor of Chicago, 7% of the money in favor of Chicago. So Washington's getting 93% on Wednesday. That has changed to plus 184 for Chicago on Sunday, October 12th, to minus 220 for Washington. Same betting percentage, 12 to 88, but the money percentage is different, 21% to 79%. Going with Washington. 21% going with Chicago, 79% going with Washington. Now the minus 220 has turned into minus 270, a drastic difference. 81% going higher instead of that 79%, and that 88% turns into 87%. This gives you an indicator that Washington could be a safe pick. Could be a safe pick in this one. With the splits not moving as much, but the odds moving drastically in favor of the favorite. But let's check where the spread is going, because spreads are the biggest indicators on who's going to win the game. All right, currently the spread is at 5.5 points favoring Washington, minus 112 cost going with Chicago, minus 108 going with Washington. Now, it opened at 4.5 point favorites. The Commanders did at minus 105 cost. 4.5 point underdogs on the road are the Bears at minus 115 cost. Spread plus 4.5, minus 4.5 in favor of Washington on Wednesday, on 10/8, October 8th. That gives Chicago a minus 112 cost and minus 108 cost for Washington. 62% of the betting in favor of the Bears, 38% of the betting in favor of Washington, 66% of the money in favor of Chicago, 34% of the money in favor of Washington. Spread movement Sunday, 10-12. 4.5 point underdogs are Chicago, minus 120 cost this time. As of Sunday, October 12th. Minus 4.5 points Washington, minus 120 cost going with Chicago, minus 102 going with Washington. 52% of the betting going with Chicago, 48% of the betting going with Washington. 63% of the money going with Chicago, 37% going with Washington. Not a huge difference, but it is 3%, but 10% difference on the betting. People betting more on Chicago's spread. Now let's see where they currently are. They were at 62 to 52. Now they are at 52. Still at 52 and 51 and 52. 51% going with Chicago on the betting. 52% of the money currently going with Chicago, and that is based off the 5.5 point favorite Washington Commanders on the spread. That is. Now the money has changed down by 11% as of yesterday. And their cost went from minus 112 to minus 10. Washington, go back down. And their cost went from, okay, they're back down to minus 112. Minus 120 to minus 112. Okay, yeah, as you can see here, minus 112 for Chicago, minus 108 for Washington. All right, so they went down from Plus, they went up from minus 102 to minus 108. So they're back where they were on Wednesday. All right. They're trying to convince people to go with that Chicago spread. If you see that spread going from minus 120 now to, they're back down to minus 112. Those minus 112s hit more than the minus 108s, but it's not a staggering difference. It's about 56-44%. Traditionally, not a huge favorite, but it is significant. And Chicago has gone down in money percentage as well. So people putting more money on Washington now. Higher spread as well. So they're trying to get people to entice people to go Chicago. Washington could take this across the board, but let's go over where the total is. If you want the picks, hit the Patreon. Final picks will be on the Patreon. Link is in the description and in the video. All right, over under 49.5 minus 115 cost going over, minus 105 going under. Over under 48.5 minus 110 going with the over, minus 110 going with the under. That is the opening. All right, total odds movements Wednesday 10-8 October 8th 49.5 points remain consistent all week. Minus 120 cost going over, minus 102 going under. That gives, at that time, 89% going under and 87% of the money going under. Over under from Sunday, October 12th. Minus 115 costs going with the over, minus 105 costs going with the under. 23% betting percentage going with the over, 35% going of the money going with the over. 65% betting percentage going with the under, and 77% of the money, 77% of the betting going with the under, and 65% of the money going with the under. So the under is still dominating as of right now, but let's see where it currently is. As of yesterday, that is. All right, still 76 and 65. 76% betting percentage going with the under, 65% betting percentage going with the under on the money. Now, based off where those odds have moved, minus 102, I'm focusing on the under, minus 102 to minus 105. And it is still at minus 105. That under could take it. You could join the public in this instance, only if it stays that way. But what you're going to see throughout the day before game time, this is still early Monday morning, what you're going to see before it kicks off, minus 105 going under, minus 105 cost going under, is going to be a huge indicator. Well, if it flips, that is. If it flips, if the minus 105 goes over, if it goes over at any point today, take the over. If the minus 105 goes over at any point today, if the cost flips, basically, go with that over. But currently, you want to join the public and go with that under. But the way they're moving those odds, and Chicago really is getting a higher percentage than they were, especially on the ML. See, now it's over 80% for Washington. Yeah, you might want to go with, when they were at 93 earlier in the week, and they've gone up. Went down, then they went up again. Look out for Washington across the board and that under only as it currently stands. Anything flips with that total, go with that over. But yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. You guys take care. We will have parlays and props on the Patreon. Link is in the description and in the video. You guys take care.